Okay, let's look at medium hair length for our boho look. Discussing the front here with a client over the internet, someone in our group, pulled out our fringe, sectioned off 1 and 2. 1 is the front, 2 and 3 are the sides, and 4 is the crown. Now looking at the width here and thinking about the photo, there's so much that's going to be taken up by the braid. We thought we'd give a little bit more hair into that area. And when you have this sectioning system, it really makes you think about the photo and it helps you make decisions. So you can see here, as I have section 5 in my hands, quite doesn't feel like enough hair. So putting more hair into section 5, and now we can move into section 4 and focus on getting the beautiful height we need. Section 1 area forward with no tease, a little bit of crimping now, and then just gliding the crimper. So it gives us smoothness, but you never want to flat iron hair because there will be no bend. But just with a little bit of the crimping at the root and then sliding it down helps smooth the flyaways and just gives it a very nice texture without showing all the crimping in the finished hairstyle. I'm not a fan of seeing crimping in a finished hairstyle, and I'd hate to think after you do a bride and you take all that time to crimp her whole head that she doesn't like it either. So now I'm just teasing. That one section in the front is the veil that will go over the teasing. And in the bricklayer pattern, just back and forth, going around the rounds of the head and getting in some teasing. When you look at the photo, you look at the fullness, and you just have to make a decision based on the bone structure and the head shape, how far down to go. You don't want to go too wide because you don't want the hairstyle to be too wide. That can look matronly. Just smoothing that top layer, going over what was done on a shorter head. And now we're going to go in. We've decided for this head that we're going to go with a French braid. It could be twists, it could be a French braid, it could be a Dutch braid, it could be pieces pulled over. That's why I have the 3 different hairstyles, or hair lengths rather, that help you to know what decision you might want to make. Smoothing as you go is what keeps your work clean. And you don't get lost when you follow Updo system and the way that I teach how to do updos in the membership area. It helps you not get lost. It gives you a track to run on. And then there's so many other good tips that include the consultation, include the construction. Now here, you see, to get the height, if you pull in the center of the braid, if you want a flat boho braid, you pull from the sides. Now, partway through that braid, I'm grabbing it with my thumb and forefinger, pushing it forward and twisting. And that gives all the pop that we want to have in this hairstyle. So just looking at the height, looking at the fullness. And when you're, again, working in your sections, you can get each section somewhat organized and somewhat finished. And then you can move on to the next. And also, you want to check in with the client. So now I just took that elastic, brought that braid out, and we're going to make hair padding with the braid. Now I'm splitting that bottom. There's not a whole lot of hair or length there to be able to just wrap a circle. This look is a bit fuller, and the chignon is pretty full everywhere. It's not just a chignon in the back. So pinning in my padding, leaving a little bit of the nape hair. And now we'll section this into 3 after some teasing. And you can see I'm holding it, always thinking about where the hair is going to go. The hair is going to wrap sideways, so I tease sideways. And it just becomes that when you learn to think through your updos and not to copy an updo. Good.
Okay. Oh, she looks like a mad woman.
So now, basically, you're going to want to create your bun back here, and realizing that you still have the ends to bring back. You got plenty of hair to bring back. Now, if she had short hair and she had fringe, you might not have enough hair to come back. So if you've got plenty to come back, you don't have to get too worried about what this is doing. But if you don't have enough to come back, this has to do its job. Right now, it just needs to kind of go up. But we want to try to get some of these pretty pulling pieces. So again, just so we don't get lost, back to the sectioning. We're going to bring that piece up, deciding that, it doesn't have to go straight up in the middle. It could be curved a little bit. Flipping those ends under, judging how much hair we want on the neck so that it's pinned there below the elastic, because what matters is where it sits on the nape. Cleaning and smoothing the rest of the sides. Tucking that around and under. And when you learn an updo like this, learning the system, it's not so much how it's finished.
Yeah.
So put the back of your hand where you want it to live, and you're working here. Look at this for a minute. So if you're working out here, and you want the back of your hand where you want it to go, you're holding it and you're smoothing and pinching closer so you have more control. So what I was seeing as she was copying me, her hands were too far away from the head and she was losing control. Her hair was getting away from her, so I had her move her hands closer for a little bit more control. And sometimes it's just something as simple as how you're holding the hair, how you're holding your body. So again, the sections are fairly cleaned and pulled and brought in almost that they're finished. I'm not a fan of doing too much pulling after it's been put up because you can loosen pins. And sometimes this is where I take the mirror and I stand the bride up and I show her, this is the crown. This is really soft and it's pretty and it's on your nape. How's this shape? Because when you look at the photo, remember how I said the crown and the bottom match in shape?
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So now she's balanced and pretty much shaped. All the rest is really detail. Now I know people do their braids first. I kind of prefer to do them afterwards because it's a detail. It's not part of the bulk of the construction of the updo, where the crown and the chignon in the back are part of the bulk. And then when we go to bring our bits back, we can be a little bit more creative about where they're going to go. So pulling, and again, pulling in the center gives you more of a pop to your braid, as opposed to pulling wide out to the side, which makes a flatter pulling. I'm holding the braid kind of where I know it's going to get pinned, so that the pulling is directional and it fits nicely. So I'm going to pin that right on the edge there of section 4. Tuck that under and pin it in. Now I have a big hairpin that I just stuck in there that's going to kind of help hold it in place. I think for me on this side, I'm gonna split it. Because really when you think about it, this is still section 1, because that's the front. So I'm gonna slice off a little bit of section 1, and I'm gonna do 2. I'm gonna do a wrap, just wrap it with 2 pieces. So section 1 is the very front that the client likes the height. She likes the fullness, and that she's happy with the front. And that's so important because these hairstyles don't always show the front, and you have to communicate with the client to make sure that she gets the front the way she likes it. Now when you join updosystem.com membership, there is a special VIP group, and we do a small group and one-on-one work in there. So just discussing on the side, making decisions. If you are running short on time, throw the whole thing back in one piece. If you have time to be a little bit more decorative, then you can be a little bit more decorative. It all depends on the situation with the client, your timeline, how easy she is to work with, is she fussy? All these things play into the decision making of your designs. These silver clips are great to help hold something while you can adjust it, while you can know exactly where you're going to put your bobby pin. I'm going to just curl the fringe, and there's like no right or wrong. Sometimes I do it this way, sometimes I do it upside down, sometimes I do it like wrapping like that. That tends to have that flatter, more ribbon look. It just depends on the texture that you'd like, and I like to mix up the textures. Just using my fingers there to drag and pull after the spray and just get a little bit more texture in that piece. Now I could use the length here. I could use this hair. There's a little hole back there, so just using those ends to puff up that little bit, and I'm just going to be able to tuck it in and fill in a little hole that we have going on. Just add a little bit of extra texture. And always working side to side. Taking out the fringe for the front on that side. Giving the client another braid. Thinking about the shape overall and deciding where to pin it. And then changing my mind. So I just wanted a little bit more fullness in that spot. Decided to shorten up the braid and use the ends of it for another curl. I like that. So as you work within the system and you are free to be more creative because you are working on sections, you are going strategically through the head, and your creativity will blossom. And your construction will be faster and you will use less bobby pins. Thanks for watching.